Welcome back to another exciting episode of Wise Guys Barbecue. I'm Vin Picaro, and as always, I got the left-hand man over here, Charlie Baldwin.
How'd you know it was left hand?
Oh, yeah.
You know way too much.
Yeah, well, so I'll tell the story now that we have another football fanatic in the room with us today. Charlie played our left tackle growing up at all programs, and I played right tackle. So he's left side, I'm right side. So he's my left-hand man. He's also the Baron of Brisket, Charlie Baldwin. Today we got a very special guest today, Chef Andy Teixeira, the executive chef at Newport Vineyards. And we'll be covering a whole host of different things to talk about. You know, some of the things about chef, why he became a chef, and the passion that drives people to want to become chefs and join the culinary aspects of this world. His mentoring program at his restaurant, Farm to Table, and we're going to do some sustainability with that.
Yeah,
and then, of course, I'd love to talk a little bit about your fire dinner, because that's just the favorite of my thing, you know. So anyways, welcome, Chef. Thanks for coming on the show. Nice to have you.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here with you guys.
Have you seen any of our shows yet?
I listened to a couple in the car.
Okay, good.
I was actually just listening to the 10th one on the ride over.
That's more than the Baron of Brisket over there, probably.
I don't listen, I watch. Okay, I'm the hardest critic that I have.
All right,
and most of the times I think I look terrible and sound terrible. So
yeah,
don't tell me, fella.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, I hate watching anything I do. Like,
it's so brutal.
I've done a few things on TV, and I'll come home. My wife's like, "I recorded it. You guys," and I'm like,
No,
I was there.
Yeah,
I was
did
there. Yeah,
honey,
like,
you did wonderful.
Yeah,
You look
yeah.
so good. And you're like, oh god.
Yeah,
that
I was
brutal.
there. Yeah, it was good. And sometimes maybe secretly I'll sneak a peek late at night when nobody's around and tear myself up. But
Nice.
Well, I'm man enough to admit that I sit there and watch the whole thing and look at myself. So
well, you look good, man. You look
thanks.
Good. Yeah.
So I mentioned that Chef Andy is the executive chef at Newport Vineyard. He was nominated for the James Beard Award, you know, basically the Oscars for the culinary world, honoring creativity, especially with food media and content. So, you know, that's awesome, Chef. Congratulations.
Thank you. It was quite the surprise. Funny story.
What year was that?
That was this year.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
Yeah, that was this year. You know, it was just out in January. And, you know, it was one of those things I always looked at, but then kind of forgot about. You know, COVID and everything changed. And, you know, I kind of stopped chasing that prize or, you know, even, you know, having that on my radar. I was just cooking food, being happy. And I actually had a farmer from North Carolina send me a text message saying, "Congratulations, about time. Good to see you on the list." And I wrote out the text, "I think you got the wrong person." And I said, "Wait, let me take a look. It's that time of year." And sure enough, I was there. I was like, holy shit. There we are.
Great.
Yeah, you know. So then I had to change my reply to "thank you very
Yeah, there you
much."
go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How does that work? Does somebody nominate you, or how do you get to that level where you're getting a James Beard?
Yeah, it's a nomination, sometimes put up through publicists. Anyone can be nominated. Anyone can nominate anyone. You know, you guys could be like, you know, we want to nominate, you know, Chef Andy from Newport Vineyards. And then they come and look at us, eat with us, and then you get put into the top 20 in the region. So I was for the Northeast. And there was actually 3 other chefs from the Newport area, and then another chef in Bristol. That Rhode Island really represented well.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's only been 2 winners as far as best chef out of Rhode Island. 1 2 years ago, and I believe Al Forno either got best restaurant years ago. But it's been, you know, it's a hard thing, especially when you look at our region. It's Rhode Island, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont. You know,
Yes.
so you think of how many restaurants are in that region and how many cooks there are, and then to be put in the top 20 is, you know,
That's
huge
amazing.
honor. You know, it was amazing. It's my team, the place, it's all of us. It's not just me. It's, you know, the whole place.
Yeah, it must be a huge nomination list from the Northeast. All the
Yeah, I'm
I mean,
sure.
I'm sure they include New York City. And
No, New York has their own category.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
New
gonna
York
say.
has their own category just because, like, they have so many
So
Michelin
many.
restaurants, and
Yes.
they're their own animal.
Gotcha.
And us, Boston, Massachusetts people, we can keep it separate too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love that. Love that.
So tell our audience how did you become a chef? Like how did that work out for you?
So I didn't choose it; it chose me. I've been in a kitchen since I was 5.
Wow.
My dad was a baker and a cook and a chef, and my grandfather, my great grandfather. I have literally been, in a professional kitchen since I was 5 years old. The bakery I grew up in was my bus stop. And I could get off the bus and walk into the back door, and then there was a giant restaurant up the street that was like an upscale restaurant that my father used to deliver bread to. And I used to be able to walk in the back door of that kitchen because I would go to the deliveries. So, like, I was just been in these massive kitchens my whole life. Like,
Yep.
I could walk into any kitchen in the world and feel comfortable.
So when you worked your way up through the ranks and you became, you started your road to your first executive job, like you basically did that on your own, right? You apprenticed and you learned inside of was there a specific restaurant you did that for years, or did you move around a little bit?
I moved around a touch. So, my father was old school, tough, like, that old Portuguese mentality, at 16, you know everything, go and do it.
Yeah.
And realistically, it might have been the best thing that ever happened. I ended up, my first job was in a diner, working breakfast behind the counter, and I used to work 11 at night to 7 in the morning.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and
Boy,
it was
those stupid hours.
Yeah, stupid hour, crazy shit happening, from shootouts to drug dealers to, it was just wild, all the drunks, all the, and for a 16-year-old kid, like, it was absolutely wild.
Yeah.
So the gunshots would go off and you'd be like, Blue Plate Special is up.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there was like, I remember one time someone came in, they were like bleeding and saying that someone was shooting at him. Like, well, you got to go out the back door. Like, you can't be in here.
You can't bleed here.
Yeah,
Don't touch anything.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, then I'd go to high school. And try to go.
What a letdown, right?
Yeah, and try to like go live like a normal life, and I was like professionally cooking.
That could be difficult.
Yeah, and then I had an opportunity to like start a restaurant at 18 for some people and realized I was way over my head, but like I literally built this restaurant for these people at 18 years old.
Really? What kind of restaurant?
It was just like a breakfast lunch type place, family type. You know what I grew up in.
Yep.
So that was like an easy, one for me.
Well, let's go. Let me go back because we talked to you a little bit before the show while we're having something to eat. Talk about your philosophy, like formal cooking education, cooking school versus learning it, like you said, from the ground up and doing it through experience.
I think they're both great. For me, I mean, I made it as far as I think like there's definitely another level or two that I can go to, but I made it pretty far through hard work. I think culinary school just kind of takes the bumps out of the road a little.
Yeah.
You still have to do it.
Right.
Like there's no easy way. If it was easy, everybody do it.
Yep.
So there's no real super easy way. I think culinary school lets you skip being a dishwasher.
Right.
That doesn't happen until you become an executive chef, and then you wash more fucking dishes than you ever in your life.
Yeah.
But, I personally, like we were saying, is I hire both in my kitchen.
Yep.
Because I have a soft spot for the guy that's trying to figure it out, or girl, the person that's trying to figure it out. And I love culinary students because especially the raw ones, like no bad habits. They've only been taught what they know in school, so they've been taught technically sound. And now I'm going to take that and apply it. They're not jaded by our industry. They haven't seen all the frozen process, easy way to do things.
Got you.
So they don't know that like a piece of bacon comes in a box, sometimes even pre-cooked. Like they don't know that yet.
Yeah.
So they just think that you get a pork belly or a whole pig in, because that's what I've shown them. We cure it, we smoke it, we slice it, we cook it. We have bacon, 10 days of work. They don't know any other way, so they're not like pissed when I tell them to do that. Whereas sometimes some of the mercenary cooks are more like, what do you mean I got to do all that work? Just to have a slice of bacon.
Where's the food delivery? Yeah.
Right.
Right,
Where's the half-cooked bacon? Gosh darn it. So,
Yeah, and one of the things too, it's like, so if you do apprentice, there's a good couple of years of no pay right there. Or you come out of culinary school, you're thousands and thousands of dollars in debt.
You need that money.
So you know what I mean? You need that money, but you're also paying off a hefty sum just to get started in the industry, you know? And I hear from exactly like Chef just mentioned, like if you're going to be a cook at home, or, you know, cruise ship cook, or a restaurant cook, a hotel cook, maybe a culinary school might be the way to go. But if you're going to be a chef in a restaurant, and you need to learn the ropes from the chefs that are at those restaurants, right?
Yeah.
And you just got to do it.
Yeah, even like, well, when my students come in, you know, like we have housing for students. We have kids that live on property. When they come in, I tell them, listen, you're not leaving here a chef. You're going to leave here a functional cook.
Yep.
Like, that's my job, like to leave you, you know, have you be a functional cook.
So they come out of culinary school. They've got, like you just said, a basic foundation of doing things the right way. They've been taught how to do things the right way. You take them, and now you're taking them to that next level, the way, like having them do stuff the way you've learned to do it.
Yeah.
And
I'm applying what they learned.
there we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Nice.
You know, I'm showing them how to apply it in a very busy setting, in a very, you know, we're big. We crank. So I'm showing them how to apply everything now that they learned.
Cool.
Excellent.
So do you have, so obviously you have people there that you're mentoring. How does that happen? Do you have a number, a select few that get selected each season or year, and then you move forward with them depending on their abilities? Or how does that, is it, is it that formal, or is it less
It actually is. Well, both. I mean, I think everybody gets mentored.
Okay, yeah, of course, right.
Even I do.
Yeah.
You know, like I want to learn from everybody there. You know, I bring in kids from all over the world, people from all over the world that want to cook. I want to know what you know. Like, I know sitting next to you two, I can learn a shit ton about barbecue.
Yeah.
Even though I cook a lot of barbecue. I got a smoker. I do a lot of barbecue. But I don't know what you guys know.
Gotcha.
You know, and so we can all learn from each other. So, but the formal part of it is with Johnson & Wales, we have the students every semester. They come in. So we have a group coming in January, a group come in May, and a group come in August.
All right.
And they stay for 4 months.
And how big is that group? Is that 2 people, 10 people?
It varies. May and August, we usually have 2 bakers.
Okay.
And then 3 to 6 savory.
Okay.
They live on property. We have housing for them. And they work with us. And my goal with them is to have them leave functional. I know, like, I treat it like I'm a parent, which you guys are too. So like my goal for them is I can sleep good at night knowing I set them out into the world and they can go get a cook job.
Well-rounded, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel, plus it's also a little bit about me too, you know.
Sure.
You know, us chefs have a little bit of narcissism.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard about that at all.
I have run into that on occasion.
So I want all these kids to leave, and whoever they go work for, it's, who did you work for? Where did you learn that?
Right.
You know, wow, he taught you right.
Yep.
You know, I don't want to have them go, who did you work for? Like, where did you learn that?
Who's that jackass
Yeah,
to tell you how to do
like,
that?
don't ever do that again, you know. So I make
Hey,
sure
kid,
that,
go get me a bucket of steam.
all right, yeah. Well, it's
Left-handed spatula.
funny. So when I was younger, I happened to do a little stop. So I you know, going back because we're getting around, I got to train. I actually baked at Dunkin' Donuts when Dunkin' was a real baking. You know, I used to do that 9 at night to 5 in the morning.
Wow.
And then just because like the way I was raised was to work, I used to cook from 6 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon in another place. Now I was 18 years old. Didn't have a family, didn't have bills, I had an apartment that was $400 and I had a, car payment, but that's how you did it.
Right.
Like you just worked, so I did that. And the chef of the place where I was working worked in another big restaurant, and he was like, I was a baker. And he said, my pastry chef needs an assistant. Would you be willing to not work here and go do the 6 to 2 in the restaurant as a assistant pastry chef? I was like, yeah, my negotiating skills were shit. I was like, yeah, pay me what I make now and I'll go do that, and it was like $10 an hour, It was in 93.
Yeah.
And so I went, and this was like the first like upscale restaurant as an adult cook. I mean, I was still only, 19. But this was like, it was in Situate. It was on the water. It was chaos, like absolutely, like everything Bourdain describes, seafood restaurant on the water, boats pulling up, two kitchens, 2 restaurants, one upscale, one like pub, but like just like pirate ship debauchery. I was like, this is where I belong.
This is my niche. I found it.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I was helping the pastry chef and the line got crushed. And I happened to be behind the line.
What's that mean?
Like, just like,
a lot of orders?
totally, yeah. Like, pulling off tickets as long as, East Main Road.
In the weeds.
Yeah, totally buried. You're getting, 6 tickets a minute. The place seats 400 people and everybody's there. And so I just started helping. Like, my instincts kicked in and I just started cooking. I had never seen any of the food. Never, like, done any. I've been there, like, a month. And I just started cooking.
Yeah.
And the chef looked over at me and was like, the fuck is this? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, you're a line cook? And I said, I don't know.
Today
I go, I'm just helping. Like, he's in the weeds. I'm helping, And he pulled me off to the side and he said, like, hey, baker boy. And I said, what's up, chef? He goes, quit that Dunkin' Donut job and come be a cook here.
Nice.
And my negotiating skills, I make $10 an hour, but I did.
Can you match that? I don't know if you can match what I'm making there.
But I said, but here's the kicker. I was smart enough to go, this is a seasonal restaurant and my job is year round. I'm new coming into, this is the middle of the season and you're going to make cuts. Like, I need a guarantee.
Yeah.
And he's like, I promise I'll give you hours through the winter.
Wow.
And this place was like, this was nuts. It was all the drugs and alcohol and.
So what year are we talking about?
93.
93, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I was 19. Yeah. It was wild. Like, and but like the adrenaline, the cooking, it was so fast, so busy, so cool. And it was like natural to me, like supernatural. And I just took to it and loved it. And then the chef left. And I was like, oh shit. And the new chef came on. And this was the first chef that like really mentored me. Mm-hmm. He came on and cleaned house, got rid of all the old cooks that were there. He saw that there was a problem. Yeah. And I became sous chef.
Oh boy.
I was like 19 years old and he's like, you're the best one here. You're going to be the sous chef.
Which is like the number 2 guy, right?
Number 2. Yeah. And sure. And I worked for him for 5 years. His name was Joe Eskevitz. I think he's out of the game now. And this was my first foray into fire.
Yeah.
So this restaurant had an open kitchen in the middle of the dining room, and it was all wood fired.
Yeah, and the cuisine was seafood.
It was like upscale New England.
Yeah.
But it was all fire, no gas, 3-bay wood grill, and a brick oven, and we did upscale pizzas, and then like Al Forno had been on the scene for a couple of years, and everybody was trying to get that model.
Yep.
And it was insane, busy, crazy. And I did it for 5 years. And then there was a new restaurant that was opening called Atlantica. And I had some, it was time for me to move on.
Yeah.
And Atlantica was being opened by this guy, Eric Stenfors, who worked for this guy, Peter Roy, who was a billionaire. Oh. And Peter actually bought the restaurant because he didn't like looking out his window and seeing a closed restaurant, and spent $14 million.
Well, that's one way to do it. It's one way to change the scenery.
And Eric was his private chef, and Eric, and he told Eric, put a team together and we're going to build a restaurant.
Gotcha.
And he said there's no budget, so they brought on Jasper White as a consultant.
Oh.
Yeah.
And he spent the money for him, didn't he?
And Jasper was, the godfather of New England cuisine.
Yeah.
And my fishmonger was best friends with Eric and knew I was looking for a job, so he introduced me to Eric. And I walked into the kitchen. I'll never forget this. And Jasper White's there, who's larger than life. Already had 4 cookbooks and literally
all his baseball cards.
Yeah, considered one of the greatest of all time. And Eric was there. Eric had worked for some of the best and in the chef de cuisine, and these were all like CIA grads. I walked in like a dirty chef coat just coming from a lunch shift and told them that I was the best they ever seen.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. CIA, not Central Intelligence
no,
Agency.
Culinary
Institute of America.
Which
I got
was
to tell that to our viewers. Okay.
Yeah, was the standard
Yeah.
of culinary schools at the time. Johnson and Wales was really not super established. And the CIA, the Council Institute of America in New York, was the standard.
Right.
And I went in there and told those guys, I'm like, I'm the best you ever seen.
Yeah.
You know, and not knowing like who they've worked with. You know,
Pulled a Tom Brady.
I was just
Yeah.
going to say that. You're Tom Brady before Tom Brady.
and,
Shit.
and Jasper told Eric, create a position for him because what if he's telling us the truth?
Right,
you
right,
know,
right,
like
right.
he's awful confident to come in. And within a year, I was the number 2 in that restaurant, and those guys mentored me. And you know, and so now, to bring it all full circle, those were chefs that kept me out of drugs, kept me out of jail, kept me out of. I mean, for the most part,
Right.
And
They did their best.
they, you know,
they did their best.
Yeah, considering, you know, I mean, I was still pretty crafty.
Yeah. And young.
Yeah, you know, and just making money, you know, like if you're making decent money, had no bills, you know, reckless lifestyle, all of it.
Yeah.
But now it's important to me to mentor these kids because they took the time. Like Jasper would bring me in early in the morning and be like, you need to do product identification. Eric constantly, if I had a spot on my jacket, tighten up, go change, be professional, you know, like always drilling the professional. Like I was a really great cook and they made me a chef,
That's awesome.
you know? And so now that's my job. Like it's to do that to everybody else.
So talking about your kitchen, right? Do you have either a favorite way to cook? Are you a griller? Are you a fryer?
Fire.
You're like,
Open flame.
Open flame, wood. Yeah, like we just did Cider Fest last Sunday, and I built a 4-foot by 4-foot fire and hung 75 turkey
So you
legs.
did that last week.
We did. Well, what we did was we did Cider Fest.
Okay.
And instead of doing the whole fire dinner,
Yep.
I just had a fire station,
Okay.
quote unquote, and
Yep.
we did. I brined a whole bunch of turkey legs, and then we just hung them over the fire and
Nice.
cooked them over the fire, and then we did like a grilled pumpkin dish, and we did some brisket chili.
Kind of like a Santa Maria style.
Yeah, kind
grill.
of like a
Yeah.
Santa Maria, but like total like ghetto style cinder blocks.
Yeah.
Expansion
That's
metal.
amazing.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, some posts, some wire, some chicken wire, and we were in, you know.
No, you have a great craft with that. I've seen some of your pictures from your fire dinner. You're literally bringing burning wood
To the
by,
table,
by the
man.
customers at the
Yeah,
table.
yeah,
And they're
yeah.
like, I don't know if they were desserts or
We were toasting
entree.
marshmallows.
Toasted marshmallows.
Toasted marshmallows.
He's holding a burning stick in front of someone's face and they're toasting marshmallows.
Amazing.
It's nuts. I'll have some pictures up for the folks on YouTube later.
And it was actually what it was a reclaimed barrel stave
Oh,
from
really?
the wine barrel. So we take the wine barrels that break down, and we take those staves. Now they have 30 years of soaking in wine, and it's
Yeah.
French white oak.
Oh,
I mean, 2 great smoking
Goes up like
materials.
a torch.
Yeah, but what a great smoking material too.
yeah.
That's what we run in our smoker at the vineyard is we all reclaim wine barrel.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so you know we have a cook shack.
Are those wine barrels one season per barrel?
No. They go.
They-
you
they
can go 30
recycle?
years. Yeah.
Okay,
You know, you
okay,
can,
okay.
You know, they
Just
kind of when they break down on their own.
Yes.
You know, as they kind of get better.
Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah.
How difficult is it? And I guess I'm asking as an executive chef to keep the consistency of the food up in a busy kitchen, right? Because you have a couple things going on, right? You got your sustainable ingredients, you got your mentor program, so you got rookies, right? And you got big cooks on your hand because you get busy. How do you keep that consistency, quality?
And you're doing banquets plus the regular restaurant also, correct? I was
Yeah,
looking at the
yeah.
pictures here on your website. See the banquet facility set up.
Yeah, we do 60 weddings a year.
Amazing.
And then we do a whole bunch of, over 100 private events, rehearsal dinners, corporate events. And then we throw our own parties. We like to throw festivals. We like to party.
You got some really nice rooms.
Yeah,
at your
we
place.
got some space to do some
What's
stuff.
that loft up top? What do you call it?
Oh, the Overlook.
The Overlook.
Yeah,
that
we're-
is such a cool area.
So it's
I
a
love that.
restaurant that overlooks the whole winery, and
so
all the
nice.
windows can drop down. They're like garage doors that drop down. It's really, really.
Is that a private
Nope.
rental? No,
Nope.
it's you want to
It
go.
can be.
Yeah,
I mean, everything's for rent,
Yeah.
But no, that's our restaurant on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday brunch. Why we close the lower level for weddings.
Gotcha.
So that used to be Bricks. When I first got to the vineyard, that was our upscale restaurant, Bricks.
Oh, okay.
And then COVID kind of ate all of that, and nobody wanted a quaint, dark, enclosed in glass restaurant during
Sure.
COVID, especially when we had 45,000 square feet downstairs of space to use.
Mm-hmm.
Roughly, I'm not quite sure. I just throw numbers.
No, it's
around.
immense. It's immense. It's big.
It's huge. Yeah.
You think you're in a like an airport terminal when you first walk in, right? They got the host to stand up front, and you're like, "Why you stop me here? The bar's over there, the restaurant's over there, the gift shop's over there." Like, no, this is all of us, and I'm like, "Wow, it's huge."
Yes.
And then of course, Chef takes me around. The first time we met in June, takes me around the side where they have the big stainless steel brewers of beer. Inside, so that's a whole nother wing, and that's where the overlook is. And then we came outside and walked around. It's amazing. You got to check it out.
How long have you been there now, Chef?
This is my 9th season, 8 full years.
So, have you seen a lot of change in the facilities in your 9 years, or has it always been this kind of setup? Obviously, COVID.
Yeah, the brewery was new when we first got there. When I first got there, we didn't brew beer. But that's John and Paul Nunes, the owners, are so forward thinking and about, they're not about, the bottom line, they're about making good money and being a business, but they're about reinvesting, Since I've been there, we've acquired land, we put in a brewery, we, bought greenhouses, they put in a well, they're constantly putting into the infrastructure to make it better, to make it sustainable, and not just to make it cool, because a lot of the stuff they're doing is just infrastructure. I guess it draws people in,
No, it's still cool.
Yeah,
drilling
us
what
a
they
well.
have. Unless they did the cool first.
Yeah.
It's cool. And now they're doing other stuff that
drilling us a well, 500 yards from the building so that we can grow vegetables. Nobody sees that, but we do it. And it's awesome because we're bringing in, a good amount of our produce that we grow there. It changes. You evolve. A restaurant is a living, breathing thing.
Yeah.
And if you're not willing, that's the chefs that lose their jobs or go out of business or a restaurant, they're not willing to change, with your audience.
Too rigid.
Yeah. I don't cook for me. I cook for my audience.
Yeah.
When we if you go to a concert, like my wife and I just for her birthday went to ZZ Top and Skinnerd.
Nice.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Nice. But I don't want to hear. Yeah, they played all the hits. I don't want to hear what they're working on. That's not why we went there.
Exactly.
We want to hear the hits. It's the same thing with us. That they want us to cook. They don't want to see some. There's 5 people that want to see some complex, crazy thing I'm working on. But everybody wants all the stuff that we normally do. What we're known for, the good, classics. And so that's what we try to do is remember to cook for your audience. And the audience changes. As people's changes, you got to stay with the trends.
Plus, with your sustainability of ingredients, you're changing to the season of your food. Yeah. So you're changing throughout the year for that audience at the time. So that's got to be a little bit of a mind bungle as well.
You would think, but now as a creative, it's like stoking the fire. It's like stoking the smoker.
Yeah.
So,
well, for you, because you did it for 9 years.
Right.
But you know how to get through it.
Right. But meaning if you commit to this concept where we're going to use everything that's grown in New England, very little of our food comes on a plane. And the stuff that does, I went to the farms and looked at. Wow. I went out to North Carolina to look at meat because, realistically, I'm cutting 65 ribeyes and 85 filet mignons this weekend for the weddings.
Oh.
So now my local farm, 85 filet mignons, that's 4 steers.
Oh, wow.
All right. So now what do we do with the other 3,000 pounds of meat?
Yeah.
But there's farms in North Carolina. There were some farms in the Dakotas that do the same grass-fed, small family that can get me those numbers. So that's what I mean when some of our food comes on a plane.
Sure.
Pork belly. I buy mostly all my pork from Anne-Marie at Blackbird Farm. Pork belly. I go through 12 pork bellies a week. She's not going to give me 6 pigs a week worth of pork belly.
Right.
So I go out to Iowa. Small family farms, they can do it. Same principles, same everything.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Blackbird?
Blackbird.
Yeah, Blackbird Farms. I've been there a few times, not too far from where I live. Love that place. Can't go down. Can't wait. Since I've started this new venture, I haven't met them. I know you introduced me to her, right?
Yeah, Anne-Marie is one of the owners. Great farm. I'm talking about a good family and just, And they raise good beef too, but I like to spread it around. Every farmer I do business with, I tell them, hey, listen, we're all going to in this together.
Right.
You can't be greedy and expect me to just buy from you.
Right.
We're a farm, you're a farm, we're all farms here. So I have a beef farm that grows great beef, and he's like a mile and a half from me.
Yeah.
So we buy our beef from him.
Gotcha.
And we get whole steers from him. But, like we were saying about the sustainability aspect, it forces the creativity. It stokes the fire of creativity, because if an ingredient goes out, I have to change the menu. I'm committed to it.
Yep.
So I have to come up with a dish. But now I don't have to be like, boy, my menu's getting stale. What do I want to change? Because I'm forced to constantly change. So we're constantly evolving.
Yep.
And we don't change the whole menu. We change a couple of dishes. Every week, there's a couple of new dishes. So now the trickle-down effect of that is now all my cooks, my chef de cuisine, my sous chefs, my junior sous, the lead cook, the line cooks are all seeing a couple new things every week.
Nice.
So now your brain can only be in survival mode or learning mode.
Right.
If we're in survival mode, I change the whole menu here, get it, figure it out.
Yep.
They're not going to get any of it. Now, when you were talking about consistency, how do you keep the consistency? They're always in learning mode, because we always just give them 1 or 2 or 3 things.
Adding a little bit on each time, and therefore you still have your base, your foundation that they're already becoming experts at. Now when you throw, it's like football, Vin, the playbook.
Yes.
When you're learning the playbook at the start of the year, you get your base offense down, and then every week you throw in a couple of wrinkles at them. It doesn't overload everybody.
Yeah, everybody can run a slot and run, a sweep, and then all.
Sure.
But then now we start adding, some different coverages. It can change.
And nobody panics.
Right, and then when I feel that they get it, or when they start to get comfortable, I take away a comfort thing.
You throw a curveball at them.
Change one of the comfort things, like, hey, I'm taking the chicken off the menu today.
Slide dog.
And we're going to go with this. And they're like,
right. So
what? Yeah.
So you take the chicken off and you add something else they haven't seen.
Pick that gun up.
It sounded like it.
Leave the gun. Take the brisket.
Take the cannolis.
Yeah, take the brisket, yeah.
All right, wait. I got to interrupt you guys, right? Because I have this problem. I have to drink wine. I think if you watch an episode, you know it. So we're going to take a little break, folks, and we're going to grab some wine and come right back. But it gives you the best opportunity to. I put now. I don't know if you noticed it. Right in the corner of your screen, there's a little subscribe button. It means a lot to us. Click it, please. It helps us out. It keeps YouTube pushing us up the rankings so we get more views, and we want to do this for a long time. So take a minute, subscribe, click the little bell, and we'll be right back. All right, we got 2 wines from Newport Vineyards. We got a Gemini Red, which we did not open. We went with the white, and I'll explain to that in a minute. But the Gemini Red is, I picked it because we did have a little bit of bites right before we sat down in the podcast studio. And it says, our winemakers create an Italian-style wine with a peppery finish and a hint of oak, named for the winemakers' twins, George and Victoria. The wine enhances strongly flavored cheese and pasta or beef. So you want to pick that up and try that if you're looking for a red. We went with the white tonight because we don't drink whites very often. We're mostly drinking reds on the show. So, and this is called In the Buff.
Which we are not going to be by the end of this podcast. Let's just get that straight right now.
Well, what I
Show's
love
going
about
in a different direction.
What I love about it, and it's written on the back of the wine, it says, a wine that bears it all. Our In the Buff shows the true naked characteristics of the grape. An alluring blend made with unadulterated winemaking techniques. Enjoy with picnic food or simply in the buff. I don't think we're going to.
Okay.
Anyways.
If somebody wants to dig me up a ham sandwich.
Cheers, Chef. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Charlie, cheers.
Of course.
The Baron of Brisket.
I've been called worse. A lot worse.
Oh, this is yummy.
Isn't that nice?
It is very nice.
Yeah.
Wow, you know what? It starts off like sweet, like a Moscato would, but it dries right out. It doesn't give you, like, you could drink a lot of this. You could have a couple bottles of this.
That's a problem right there.
It's good.
It's not too sweet where you're like, you're going to feel gross, but also, it's. I really think that we have good drinking wine.
Yes.
You know, like, it goes great with food. I never cook to the wine. I just, I'm never like, oh, what am I going to pair with this bottle?
Yes.
Because we have so many awesome blends and, flavors that, vintages that whatever I cook, and then it's, all right, what do we want to put with this?
Yeah.
It's that way, which makes it a lot easier because now I'm not worried. Yeah. I know we have a wine for whatever I'm cooking.
Gotcha.
This is delicious.
I know, or a beer, especially now with the beer. I know we always have a beer. I mean, hell, we're even doing non-alcohol soda now. We're doing.
Oh, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, it's, again, being sustainable and seeing, we were buying in a lot of stuff for mocktails. It's big right now. Yep. And for designated drivers, pregnant women,
sure.
And we were buying all those ingredients. So I went to the brewer and I said, if I gave you a whole bunch of fruit, could you make a soda, like non-alcohol soda? And he says, yeah, that's super. Yeah. I said, okay, there's 400 pounds of strawberries in the locker and get busy.
Get on it.
And he made a strawberry soda that kind of took off. It was really good. And we put it in kegs, put it on draft, and we pump it out. And then now we have a blueberry one, and we also have a birch beer. The guy who grows all our produce is a big forager. I forage a lot. And so he foraged up all the sweet birch, and we made a birch beer that has a lot of, forage stuff in it.
Explain forage to me.
Going out in the woods and finding edibles.
Really? Literally just going out and going on your own?
Like I driving here, because you guys are kind of in the woods a little bit, I slowed down and was looking for bright orange mushrooms on trees.
So
that's amazing.
It's in your blood, you Portuguese folks, isn't it? Right? Seriously. And then they don't share either. They don't tell you where they find their best stuff. They're like, oh no, I don't know where it is.
So speaking of that,
don't even get into that conversation with my wife because she'll like try to like shrink wrap you to a chair until you give it up.
So my wife and I were driving on Monday. And we're going through Dighton, Mass. And all of a sudden, I'm like, stop the car. She was driving. She's like, what? And I hop out and I'm like, get a bag. And I run up this hill. And there's this big orange cluster of chicken of the woods on the tree.
Oh, I love that.
So I cut them all off. And then next to us is a whole bunch that were passed.
What do you mean passed?
They were like, they were old.
Yeah.
They were like starting to get dusty and whatnot.
Uh-huh.
So she's like, you can't take that. I said, I know they're passed. I go, but. So I cut them all off, and then I buried them under the leaves because I didn't want anyone to drive by and see them there and be like, oh, next year. And then I marked my tree, and then all the cut spots.
Bitch.
Yeah.
So you guys are understanding, getting a feel of how cutthroat this industry is.
Yeah. Well, foraging especially,
All right. Explain now, would you say sweet birch? What's sweet birch?
So sweet birch is
like a birch tree?
Yeah, like a birch tree that has a lot of sweetness to it, and they can use the actual, strip the bark, and you can use that. That's where you
soak out the wood, and that's where you get the flavor. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's like cherry wood.
I've heard of birch soda, but I never thought it would come from a tree.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So, all right. So we hit on it a little bit. We got to talk about your fire dinners.
Okay.
Because that's how we kind of met, right?
Yeah. We were gonna come. We got rained out this year.
Yeah. Well, no, I actually went to a wine tasting, and I met one of your PR people there.
Yep.
And I gave him our barbecue news card, and they were like, "Oh, you need to meet Chef Andy because he does a fire dinner every year." And I'm like, "Yeah, I got to meet him." So I emailed you, and we started talking, and you got rained out, and God, I hope that gets back on the calendar before next July. But even if it isn't, I'll be there next July because I saw some of your pictures, and I'm dying for you to tell the story because it just looks amazing.
So fire dinner. Again, what's funny is, we were talking about instinct of cooking. I say I listen to the voice in my head. Wishing Stone Farm in Little Compton, one of the biggest organic farms around, did this series where they would have 5 different chefs, one every month or one every couple weeks, come cook a farm dinner. And they asked me to do it. And it was, a lot of the, big, well-known chefs in Rhode Island. So I was pretty honored to be asked to do it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, we'll do that. Not having any idea what I was going to do, even how I was cooking any of it, right? And I get there and they're like, there's a pile of wood. There's like a fire pit. And all right, yeah, we'll figure this out. And I did a dinner and it was amazing. Me and my team, we worked really hard, but we brought everything to the farm and we did it. And Like, wow, this is really cool. It's not really a farm dinner, though. It's more like around the fire. And then the next year, we did it again. And that year, I had a food critic in January. They asked him, what was your top meal of the year? And he was like, he was a Boston Globe writer. And he said, I've eaten, I've eaten this opening, that opening, here, there, went through all this stuff. He goes, but the best meal I had and the most entertaining meal I had was at Wishing Stone Farm with Chef Andy and his farm dinner.
Nice.
And then that kind of clicked. I was like, oh shit, I think we got something here.
Yeah.
So I asked if we could bring it to home turf. Like, hey, we're doing these dinners.
Yeah.
We should do them on home turf.
Yeah.
And so we did one, at the vineyard, and we called it a fire dinner because I said, I'm going to bring fire to the table. We're really going to, we're going to think as far outside the box as we can.
Yeah.
We're going to employ every kind of cuisine we could. We were doing Brazilian grill, churrasco, gaucho style swords of meat coming to the table, carving. Yep. And it just turned into, all right, let's take all the fine dining training I had, all the training I had, and let's employ it into a really badass dinner that's kind of communal. Like, I love communal eating. I think communal eating is probably the best way to eat. But again, going back to that narcissistic chef.
Yep.
If the three of us go out to dinner and you order a ribeye and I'd order a pork chop and you order pasta, sorry to typecast you, man.
Thanks. Good thing this is the Wise Guys Barbecue. I fit in.
And we have our heads down and we're eating, going, yeah, this is so good. And we go on the ride home. We're like, yeah, mine was really good, but we don't really share the same experience.
Right.
But now if I put down communal food like boards, cheese boards, shareable stuff, and we're all digging in, one, the conversation is going to be about the food. So now you're getting to talk about me.
Sure.
Two, you're having a more communal experience because now you're all sharing a moment.
Yep.
Did you try it with this? What happens if you dip this? Oh shit, I didn't get any of that. And we're passing and we're trying. So the communal aspect of it. So in the fire dinner, we would set up a big table for 50 people, 60 people, one table. And, you sat with the people you went with, but you could be sitting across from total strangers.
Sure.
And I would start feeding it family style.
That's the way to go.
But then we would also it would go family style, it would go really tight, plated. And it'd be about 12 courses that we would throw down at
I'm
you.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. From chicharrones to whole roasted stripers to we did everybody does a short rib, and they can do a 6-inch short rib. But imagine if you took the tomahawk bone and kept just the rib. Take the rib eye off, but now you got just that beef rib. Mm-hmm. We would do whole ones because we're breaking down whole animals. So we take whole rib sections, split them into bones, drill a hole through them, and then hang them over the fire, spritzing them with veal stock.
Our viewers right now are seeing the pictures on the wall. It's just amazing because it looks a little nutty, right? It looks like a little prehistoric, right? Oh my God, where's the car battery next, right? You don't know what's going on, but then to know that's the Santa Maria kind of cooking technique where you're bringing either the grates up over the fire or the fire down to the hanging meats, and you did some fish in there, I think.
Yeah,
too.
we did a whole roasted striper. Actually, I had a private group out of Texas. They were like, we want an experience, and you can do anything you want, and here's a check. So I roasted a whole swordfish.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we've done, some cool stuff over the fire, and again, the fire just for some reason it's instinctual to me. I can look at the fire, I can manage it. It doesn't scare me, intimidate me.
That goes back to your early Neanderthal
it
days,
must be,
that fire is all good.
Exactly what he said is that he started so young. He probably experimented with everything because it's everything. Anybody that talks to us about barbecue, right? Everybody wants to try it. They don't know what to start with, and everybody's paranoid of doing a brisket, right? Because it's $140, right? Oh my God! But it's dude, you got to do it, and you got to screw it up. It's the only way you learn, and you got to do it. And you know what? Next week, do it again. And my wife, what are we gonna do with all this food? I don't give it away. I just want to cook.
Chip's not doing anything, is he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's so it's all about trial and error and experiment. But we took, you take all the aspects of my career and every little piece kind of fit in.
Okay.
You know, working in that restaurant, the first one that was all wood grill. All right. That taught me fire management, heat management, you know, like, because it wasn't like, you know, I turned the grill on to 400 and we grill. This grill right now is 900. This one next to me is 500. And this one is like 200 because we're stoking it. So I'm searing on here, I'm cooking on here, but in 5 minutes, all that's changing.
All right. So that was one of my questions. Slow down. Stoking it. So what it was, my thing was, you're not cooking over a butane pipe, right?
No.
You got charcoal, you got wood, you got all the real deals. How are you controlling that? So are you blowing air over certain parts to get the temp up? Are you putting grills lower? What are you doing?
We're keeping ghetto as possible with cinder blocks.
Nice.
You either turning the cinder block to let air in,
Yep.
or we're closing the sides to let air out. We're looking at the wind, like we did the turkey legs last week.
Yeah.
We're like, all right, first thing we do, where's the wind coming out of? I'm like, we got an east wind. All right, that's great because the way we're set up, east to west, the smoke's going to go towards the vines, not going to be in our guest face.
Yep.
So you got to be a freaking weatherman too now.
Yeah, man.
Meteorologist.
Yeah, you know, you gotta know.
Engineer.
Now I know why I never got to be a cook.
Well, most cooks are just cooking. You know, like you know, earlier we go turn on the grill and cook. Like I'm trying to figure out where's the wind coming from because now I got to block it because I don't want it blowing too hot.
Yep.
And then so we block that off. We want air coming in on the side.
And blocking it's not the good term. You're drafting it because you need to let it in when you need to and let it and stop that when you know. So you're drafting that wind.
And then
it's
once we get the coal bed
sailboat,
going, once we get the coal bed going, then we see like how's it burning. You know, we're starting to fire hours before we're gonna cook, so that we can even just see how it's going. And then we're like, all right, you know what? I think we can open up the back, give us some room.
Because you're not doing this every week. You're doing
we're doing this twice a year, too.
Right,
You know,
so you're figuring it out as you go.
Yeah, you know. And then Francis Mallman, who's been doing it for years, he blew up on the scene. And, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen him. He's a Peruvian chef. He's pretty badass. If you were to say, can you cook one dinner with somebody, it'd be Mallman. And his thing is fire. You should definitely look him up. He's Michelin rated, but he would take people out into the woods in Peru and build a fire and cook you like a mind-blowing experience, you know. So he's somebody that I've, you know, kind of like.
What's
taking it.
What's your favorite piece of the dinner that you cook? Is it just because you do so many different things, or is there one thing every cook you say, I can't wait to get this out to my guests?
You know, I really like doing the whole fish.
Yeah.
Like I like cooking big whole stripers.
Yep.
It's one of the or any like large fish. I want to do a whole tuna.
How do you cook it? Like what do you do? Like I can't cook fish. I've watched my wife cook fish. Sometimes she cases it in salt. Sometimes she butterflies it. Sometimes she puts a bunch of vegetables inside.
Yeah. So we're taking like massive stripers, like the biggest we can get.
Yeah. How big? Like for example, I don't
like
know.
40-inch.
Okay.
You know, you know, big cows. And we're, you know, gutting them and then stuffing them with as many aromatics as I can find. One year we got these awesome little yellow plums and I stuffed a shitload of them in there with like ginger and cilantro because we can go any way we want with this, right? You know, like, and I can build the accompaniment to it. You know, like if I want to be Italian and do like a really like savory, like, you know, not so much like Mediterranean style. I could do lots of garlic and oregano and, you know, we can go that way. If we, you know, like one year we did the Asian, we went really like Thai, Filipino style with like cilantro and ginger and lemon and plums and all this, you know, and then we tie the fish.
Yep.
So that we, you know, like almost sew it up, but I'll just kind of go around the body a couple times.
Like netting it kind of thing.
Yeah, you know, a couple of good ties, and then I'll score it, season the hell out of the outside of it with some salt, pepper, rub it, and then just put it on the grill. Okay. Oiled grill, nice and hot, but not a crazy, like you're not like, you want like slow and low almost on this.
Okay.
You know, it's not like grilling a piece of fish because, you know, you got 14-inch thick or,
they go quick.
Yeah. So we got to cook this thing slow and low because of the thickness to get it hot all the way through, but to not burn the shit out of the outside of it.
Yep.
You know, and so we'll do that. And it's just kind of like a look. We're seeing like as the heat and the fish is going up the side, you know, the color starts to change on it, you know, the skin as it's cooking. And then we roll it. is how we flip it, and we use pizza peels, metal pizza peels. Because now you think about this fish is the length of this table.
Right.
So we take 2 like big pizza peels, and if you look at some of the pictures, you see it. We just kind of like roll it with the pizza peels, and then when the fish is done, timing is still timing. Like sometimes the fish is done a half hour before we need it.
Right.
So now you gotta like, oh shit, like so.
And the incredible part, I want to say amazing again, is that now you take this food and you plate it. So you're now cutting it, portioning it, plating it, decorating it, right?
In front of everybody.
In front of everybody.
In front of the whole
on
group.
the tents, on picnic tables, and then pushing it out. It's amazing.
Yeah.
You'll see it in the pictures. It's
the
cool.
fish
So
is
cool.
the coolest one because usually we set the table in like a U.
Yeah.
And so we'll take the fish when it's done, and what we've done is put it on like a cart and wrap the top of the cart in foil and like encase it. And so now it just kind of steams and hangs out there. But we've had some nights where we do these dinners in like mid-September. It gets cold at like 6 o'clock. The sun's starting to go down.
Right.
So that fish starts cooling off. So we had this one where it was done early and it was starting to cool off. And how am I going to reheat this fish? Instincts kicked in, and I said, grab me a bunch of those rocks off that wall over there. We threw them in the fire, got the rocks ripping hot. And the course before, we took all those hot rocks and set them on top of the fish that's wrapped in foil. Created a nice Dutch oven.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right? And then we plated a course, and then it was time for the fish. We took the hot rocks off, opened the foil, and now we wheel it into the middle of the U-shaped table. So everybody's standing there, and I tear open this giant foil pack, and there's a 240-inch stripers in there. And then we'll do like a simple plate with this one. Usually it's like a simple salad. I know at the time when we did this like green tomato salad that was really like lime and agave and a lot of like fresh, herbs out of our garden. And there was we were growing a lot of lemongrass that year, so we had a lot of lemongrass in there. So we would just put down the tomato, bingo, there it is. Yep. And then we put down a tomato salad, and I was just literally taking like chunks of like a nice big fillet of that, flake of that fish and putting it right on top. We would serve them. And then pull the whole spine in front of everybody. So now imagine I'm standing there in front of everybody, and you pull this like whole spine, head out of the fish. It's like super cool. And then we got the whole
running for the door.
Anybody want to suck the head?
Yeah. Well, then like say like if you guys came at dinner, I'd be like, all right, these 2 go to those guys, and I'd pull the cheeks.
Oh,
you guys get
nice.
like the cheek,
Yeah,
but so that's
my wife will arm wrestle you for the eyes.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll give them up. Maybe anybody that wants them, we'll have them.
I think that's some of the boards you do. There you go. That's what you're doing after you.
Yeah. So
cook
then
these
we're
amazing
plating.
food.
Yeah. Then we're plating some pretty tight dishes. Like that's
there you
us.
go.
Yeah, bringing fire to the table.
Isn't that cool
That's
shit?
awesome.
Yeah.
But again, like to figure out, all right, how are we gonna make s'mores? Like, how can we make s'mores? So I went to the bake shop and asked them to make us graham crackers, and then we had these really cool molds that have our logo, and so I had the bake shop make these like discs of chocolate with our logo, and then I had them make marshmallows.
Yeah.
And so we serve 2 graham crackers, the disc of chocolate, and a marshmallow on a stick, and everybody's just looking like, what's going on here? And then my team.
You got the best job, I got to tell you.
And my team comes out and from the fire with torches, like we're coming to get Frankenstein.
I was just going to say that, like the villagers.
Yeah, and you just sit there and hold your marshmallow like this. We toast it and put it on your, and you just have a s'more. So instead of everybody getting up around, we brought the fire to you.
This is performance art.
Yeah, it's
really
dinner and a show.
It's a show. Yeah.
We've done like the chorizo bombero, like the Portuguese style,
Yep.
where I have the little pigs, and we put some charcoal in there and some grain alcohol and flame it, and then put a chorizo on top and drop that on the table.
Oh.
I actually burnt tablecloths one year. But yeah, so we do, but the thing with that is I make the chorizo and then we serve it with like some of our sourdough bread and some of our mustard and some of our pickles and
It's got to be great.
Yeah, it's a cool experience.
Everybody must give you all kinds of raves after that thing.
It sells out in like
Yeah.
record time. We can only do like 50 people.
This is the dinner the guy was saying he had the best dinner all year.
Yeah.
Was this dinner.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now you can see why.
And we really try to I want you to bury you. I want to bury you with food. I want you to I can't eat anymore. And I go, just Monty Python, just one more wafer thin fig leaf, you know, like we got it. You know?
Piss off.
Yeah, you know, like, yeah. But, you know, but it's not a cheap ticket. You know, I'm a big believer, you come to my house, you eat.
Right.
You know, so, you know, I have that, you know, that old school mentality. So when you come, we're going to make sure that I don't ever want anyone to leave and go, all right, let's go to McDonald's. You know?
I didn't get my money's worth. Right.
Yeah, no, we do this thing called car snacks, where we give you a little treat for the ride home, just in case. Well, you know, us Massachusetts people might get the munchies on the ride home, so
the fourth meal.
Yeah, you know, so
you're putting Taco Bell out of business.
Yeah, you know, so we give you a little like some cookies or something for the ride home, you know.
Okay.
All right. All right, folks. So I'm sorry, and you know who's going to be really pissed off is me, is Fredo. We're going to have to skip around a little bit. We're not going to. We already made our money. The phones have been lighting up. We sold about 3.5 cases of this wine, so we don't have to do sponsor call outs tonight. And Fredo's letter, we're going to have to save this letter for next week. So Chris, if you know who you are, you're a winner. Tune in next week because you can hear your letter read on the show.
Read by me in a most professional and courteous
No, you're not.
manner.
You're not reading Chris's letter.
Well, I'm fired already.
Anyways,
Chris,
everybody
man,
else, you'll have-
it's my fault. I like to ramble and talk about what we do, so I'm stealing your time. But come to Newport Vineyards and say hello. Maybe I'll give you a treat.
there you go. Oh,
Outstanding.
look at that. You got a personal
Outstanding.
invite. From
Take
Chef
him up on
Andy.
that.
So, anyways, Chef, I wanted to circle back a little bit. You touched on it a little bit. Farm to table and sustainability. I know these are, I'm going to say important to you because they are, but also it's kind of like the mantra over at your restaurant, farm to table, right? So, you know, it amazes me how you incorporate that into your seasonal menus that you create, but also, like, you know, how do you prepare when a season overproduces for you and you might have to preserve stuff for other seasons and things like that. So if you could kind of hit on that a little bit, I think that would be super interesting.
Yeah. So farm to table, we've kind of changed the moniker a little bit because everybody says they're farm to table for convenience, you know, because right now, like, you know, you can get apples and, you know, tomatoes and all this stuff, but like, come see me in March, you know, like when, you know, so we're kind of like farm driven. And if you think about it, that really makes sense because we're driven by the farms. You know, what we cook, what we sell, what we serve is all driven by what the farms give us. You know, I don't cook what I want, I cook what I can.
So, Chef, that brings something to my mind. Is it different like every year from these farms? They just tell you, hey, this year we're doing this, or do you actually? Can you make some suggestions? Or
so both actually. So I have farmers that will every January they go, "What do you want me to grow for you? Is there anything you want me to grow specifically for you?" And there's things like I may say, "Yeah, I want you to grow me this bean, plant me 100 feet of it, and I'll take whatever you give me." Because maybe it's something exclusive that I know nobody else grows around here. Gotcha. So now I want to be the coolest kid in the world. So I had a lot of toys when I was a kid. I grew up in a bakery. So now anytime I can have something exclusive to myself, I'll tell the farmer, don't sell it to anyone else. I'll take it all. But then they walk in with 6 bushels, and I'm like, yeah. Like,
Careful for what you wish for.
You know. Or they don't have anything. Like my pastry chef texted me yesterday, and she said, "Chef, are we getting any pears in? You know, I want to do a pear dessert." And I said, I haven't been offered any pears yet this year. I don't think anyone really has any. The farms I deal with haven't offered any pears. But last year we had pears coming out the wazoo, but we had no stone fruit. This year I'm still getting local peaches.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, like, but we had none last year. Like there wasn't a peach to be found last year.
Yeah, because we had a real...
That February freeze.
Yep.
You know, because it hurt the grape crop too.
Right, and you don't want to. You can't be over wet either. But we had like that last 5 or 6 weeks.
All that rain. Yeah,
it just kind of like dried out though.
And then, for example, like I forage. It's mushroom season. There's no maitake mushrooms right now.
There goes that word again, Charlie.
Yeah. You know,
foraging.
You know, there's no maitake mushrooms right now. You know, hen of the woods. Because it hasn't been wet enough. Like you look at my Facebook and I was getting, 50 pounds of mushrooms this time last year.
Right.
This year, like I have spots where I can pull up and look and see if they're there. and there's nothing.
Yeah.
We'll
never know those spots
yeah,
every
so the sustainability aspect of it changes. But I think what we're doing is we're supporting small family farms is the biggest thing, you know, like, and we're doing it at such a volume. Like I can spend tens, 20s of thousands of dollars with one farm a year.
Yep.
You know, when you think about it, what the farm income is, if you have a customer alone that one pays their bills on time and is buying everything that you produce, or I'm the guy that is, I'll say to the farmers, what do you have extra?
Really?
Because I can create anything with, you know, what you give me, you know, like we can create. That's what we want to do. Challenge us.
Yeah.
So a farmer call and be like, you know, we had a farmer one day, strawberries, you know, I was telling you about the soda and that's how it came about. I had a farmer call me, he got stiffed on $1,000 worth of strawberries.
What's that? What does that equal to?
About 500 pounds. You know, it's totally stiffed on strawberries.
And you're like,
Bring him down.
And he called me and I ordered like my 300 pounds. And he's like, hey, will you take this 1,000 pounds? Will you take the rest of these? And I really, you know, like that's how much, you know, like we got to still work here, you know, like, and he says, you just need to take them off my hands because I can't, we got stiffed. He goes, and if I bring them back to the guys that picked them, it's going to be a mutiny.
Yeah.
I can't just dump them in the field. Just take them. I know you do something cool with them. So my guilt, I can't do it. I said, let's split it.
Yep.
We'll split the difference.
That's
you know,
nice.
like, you know, I'm still making money. You're still making money. Let's split it. Bring them on over. So I do that. You know, Black Bear Farm, sometimes she calls me, she's like, we have a ton of trim that nobody's buying. Can you help me out? I'm like, yeah, send over a couple 100 pounds. We'll make some sausage or something, you know. So the sustainability, that's what sustains the farms.
Right.
You know, me going, no, I just want pork chops.
Yeah.
Or I
No,
just want.
yeah, you've got a two-way street, right?
Yeah,
You guys are supporting each other. You've got a nice relationship.
So, you know, and
Symbiotic
you know, I'm
relationship.
very honest, you know, it's a capitalist economy. We're going to make money. So I said, you know, like, listen, I don't want to pay premium.
Right.
You know, like, I'm doing for you, you do for me here, you know, like, or the other currency that works really well is priority. You know, like, so when the shit's hitting the fan and you only have X amount, remember when I took that couple 100 pounds, or remember when I took that off your hands, you know, now I got dibs.
Yeah, now I need you to come through, right?
Right, you know, so but also like my chicken farm, I buy chicken, and he said to me, like, during COVID, he was like, I need someone to use chicken legs, like drums, just the drums.
Yeah.
I'm selling the thighs, I'm selling the breasts, I'm selling the wings. Nobody's buying the drums. I'm like, well, I don't have to run wings. I run drums. Drums are great. You know, it's like a big chicken wing, you know, like we'll do that and we'll do it really cool and we'll make something out of it. So we do drumsticks. I get a really good price on drumsticks.
Yep.
We give like a nice portion of them. You know, it's
And
cool.
he sells out his
he sells out his whole bird instead of sitting on, you know, donating, losing, whatever it is, you know.
So it's so important.
But Chef, I mean, obviously we've established that you're, you know, very creative and
You're
very
crafty.
outside.
You're crafty. Yeah.
You're a little bit of a savant in the way you see things. But I mean, I think these days there's just some laziness going on. Like you're like, yeah, give me those chicken legs. I'll put it on me to figure out what I'm going to do with it. And I think a lot of people will be just like, yeah, you know, what am I going to do with chicken legs? Nah, I can't help you.
Yeah.
But you're like,
But hold on,
that's
Charlie.
a challenge.
So I hear you, but not even laziness. Like cojones, right? They're just people out there. They don't have the balls to kind of just say,
And that's
'cause
a
they're
nice
not
way.
just saying, they're just not doing it for
Yeah.
themselves and telling their kitchen and their restaurant what's going to happen this week. But they're telling their owners, hey, you know what? I got an inkling here. I got an opportunity. I'm taking it. And I think that's, you mentioned before, it's kind of cool what your owners do.
My
right?
owners let me
They got your
go.
back 100%, right?
Yeah. My owners, you know, they have one rule: don't fuck it up.
I love that.
Good rule.
And it's a really good rule. You know, it's the unwritten rule. And you know, it took, you know, 8 years of, you know, a couple years of building trust.
Sure.
You know, but they know that I don't work for Newport Vineyards. I work with Newport Vineyards.
Right.
Like, it's mine.
It's your brand.
You know, how many
absolutely.
people have said to me, just by the way, I talk, like, so you own? I go, no, I'm just an employee. And they look at me crazy. But, like, I've always been that way. Like, I am so proud of where I work. I'd rather you could say bad stuff about my mother before you say bad stuff about the restaurant, because one, I know my mother's not true, and the restaurant hurts because I spend so many hours there, so much time there. We're so proud of it. We're so passionate with what we do that, I treat it like it's mine. I look at every dollar, every number, sometimes, but I will always never sacrifice quality.
Well, Chef Andy, I got to tell you, this has been fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today.
Oh, wait a minute. 1 second. Keep talking.
What? Okay. What happened? Oh, okay. So, I absolutely want to thank you for coming on. We talked about this for a while, and sorry, we're still figuring out our own gig over here, but it's so nice for you to join us. And you know what? If you think you're up for it, we'd like to have you back sometime.
Oh, man, I could do this on a regular. You guys are awesome. This has been a blast. Really good time.
So,
Chef, we got you brought some goodies here for us tonight.
Oh,
that we had
thank you.
I just picked up a couple of little things for you. Nothing crazy.
I love cigars.
Do you love cigars?
I
Good.
do love cigars.
Good. I got a couple of cigars.
Some local olive oil.
Oh, all right.
And some local hot sauce.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, guys. This is okay. All right. Yeah. Oh, I love a dab it off.
If we do well, a year from now, we'll have Wise Guy branded things like this. So
Wise Guy cigar would be good.
There you go.
That'd be good.
You gotta get out some
for
people.
Sure.
So, I'd like to thank you. I'm going to thank our listeners again. Please subscribe and ring that bell. And next week, we're coming back. We're going to have Charlie and I will be on for an episode. And we got a lot to talk about in the barbecue world. We love these episodes.